Oh, did I accidentally hit the live button? I think I hit the live button by accident. Hello. Definitely early. Let me fire some things up here and we'll wait for everybody else to come. Sorry about that. Yeah, looks like I took it live. Oh well. Mike Berg, Tim G. Star, Tech Guy, Donald Fawcett, Scott Bodfoot, welcome. Home improvement. I like that. Yeah, early. Okay, well, it gives me a chance to settle into the seat on things and make sure I got everything here, all the stuff I was going to do when I wasn't live. And too much to remember, so I got my notes. I have the iPad here. Um, might want to clean these glasses so I can see out of them. How's everyone doing? I hope getting along. And maybe we can talk about recommendations for Netflix or something like that. There's been some nice stuff and some stuff that surprised me. And then something like the platform where you're like, so it's I can see that being a really good book, but we'll talk about that later. And let's see. No glare from the glasses. Okay. John Hosted from the UK. Thanks for joining us. Clint Fox. Hello, Tracy. Welcome back. Fog Dog. What up, dude? John Beninati, welcome. And there's the 7 p.m. Everyone clap and yell for our healthcare workers who it's astounding what they're doing. And I get it, the dedication to the job. But when there's a death sentence maybe waiting for you at the other end, that's something pretty special. And I know a few people in the healthcare industry, and the dedication is extraordinary. For what's happening here in New York, for them to still go, okay, yeah, I'm still going to go into work today. That's amazing. So definitely. Like Bird Crimson Forest, hello. Florida Vapes, good evening. Chris Robinson, great to see you alive and well tonight. It's good to be alive. Good information on the releases lately. Thank you. Rick Crawford, Nick Anderson, John Whistler, New Wave Dave 169. Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm glad you're here. I can start the show now. Ruff McGruff, howdy. Stefan Sard, Mike Berg. I think I said hello. Yes. Nuno Miguel, hello and welcome. And we are officially at starting time. So, hey, we're live. I accidentally hit the button a little bit early. The pollen is brutal today. Actually, having trouble vaping without coughing. So, just like, maybe just when I need to forget it for when I like it. But give a couple people, give people a couple of minutes to wander in. We'll do a little buffet action, and then we'll dive into the topic for the day. Tuition reimbursement for all medical professionals working during this crisis. That's cool. I think New York, I don't know if it's nationally or just New York, the senior year medical students were told they could go ahead and practice. Well, essentially, help out with the situation. They didn't have to go through all the protocols they might normally have to go through before they could work in a hospital. They can just whoosh, go right into the hospital. So that's been awesome to see. And a couple of states have offered to send some ventilators here too, because every 2.5 minutes, someone dies here in New York City from COVID-19. Sky Botfoot, is your last name Polish, Czech, or German? Deutsche. It is a German last name. Muchov. Home Improvement says his allergies are triggered today too. It's so hard out in public trying not to sneeze or cough. I get you saying you don't want other people to think that you're positive or something like that. But yeah, we're at a 9.9. What is it? 11-point scale, or is it something much higher than that? Anyways, high at 9.9, and you can just feel it everywhere. Anytime I touch myself, it turns red. And I don't want to take the antihistamines because they have their own issues. Even Allegra, which is the best of all the ones that I've tried for me, I just get some weird reactions from it. But tonight I might have to. But I got the windows barely opened up at all, and I'll just have to vacuum again today. And actually, maybe just have to wear a mask at home. Nick McMinn, hello, holding up. Yeah, it comes in waves. a couple nights ago, I was just sitting there listening to the forecast of the healthcare workers that were dying, and I just started tearing up. I just had it. I reached my limit. And then today, I've got kind of a curious calm, which is not good because we can't get my dad any food from Amazon. There's just no slots opening up and other things. I just don't want him going to the stores. Um, I've got a big list to my father, so working on that, and then I'll work on me. I'm good for a couple of weeks. But Nick McMahon, thank you, sir, very much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Chris Robinson, have everyone hit that like button and share the stream on their timeline. Thank you, sir. John Whistler, clutch with the recurve dual jam monster strawberry. Very nice. I've got the let's do a buffet. Got the Goon 1.5 on the top side, and I've got the Iconic on the Dreamer, and then the Intake Dual on the eFusion Duo DNA 200. And for the juices today, I pulled something out of my stash from last summer. I decided to do just see what happened. Hit that donuts raz hole. This is so good. I put it by the window so it stayed cool. I didn't want to put it in the refrigerator. It just seemed weird. I don't have room in there anyway. So I just put it by the window, and because it was cool weather. And think in my brain thinking, well, maybe the flavors could blend, but it wouldn't oxidize. Anyway, magnificent. Then I've got some Karma Euphoria strawberry, and then just once today because I'm trying to really milk this along. Hit that donuts chocolate. Had that with coffee starting the day today, and safe and sour. Let that sink in. In the time it took to do introductions to this live, 2 people have died in New York. Yeah, New York City. New York State, it's more. It's New York City every 2.5 minutes. New York State, I'm not sure. We had I think we're about 600 a day are dying in New York. New York City, they just got they ran out of all the dozens of refrigerated trucks to act as temporary morgues. They ran out, and they had to get another delivery. It's horrifying on that, and I don't have any masks. A friend is sending a few masks here that he got from China, so I can have some. So at least I can go outside because I haven't been outside in 2 weeks. There's no way. At my age, male with several medical issues, COVID-19 is a death sentence. There's no way I'm going out. Um, my dad's still popping out every day, and I'm like, "Would you please stop doing that until I get you some masks?" And you do the fabric thing, but I'm like, no, I'm not taking a chance with the fabric thing. This is a sanity walk. This isn't a necessary walk. So get some masks, and then I'll be able to go out, and I'll just rotate through them. 5 masks, just one a day. Rotate through them, then come back to the first one after 5 days. There won't be anything alive left on the mask, and I can use those 5 masks for months. Nothing's being diverted from health professionals or anything like that. But anyway, is there a service locally that could bring food to your father? Well, they've got a little bit of exchanging things going on in the building, but there's so many more things that he still has on the list. So Amazon, there's some local delivery services, big ones, but they don't have any slots available because the entire city is staying in and ordering food. So it's been hard just to get a slot. Amazon's been good up until just 2 days ago. I've been trying the last 2 nights, getting on at midnight when new slots open up. But I think now, if not thousands, millions of people are trying to do the same thing. We'll work out. We'll be able to work out some. Worst comes to worst, once I have the mask, then well, I have to be able to get food to me. I can't get food delivered to me either now. Um, but I want to get my dad set up. I can bring something up there. So we'll see what that turns. What John Whistler? Yes, a bigger than normal buffet evening today. Greasy. Ask how I'm doing today. Hopes, actually, ask if I'm safe. Well, indoors, yeah, relatively. I do a dual 40-second wash if I step out with the garbage or pick up the mail or something like that. That 20-second thing, oh hell no. I got time in front of the sink. Wismec has masks. China has tons of masks. The shortage is here in America because you can't, hospital says, well, we need 1 million masks, which is probably a 2-day supply. We need 1 million masks. Well, they have to get the funding and arrange for the financing and exchange of all these things. China has plenty of masks now. So it's just getting things coordinated to get the shipments here. And then there are very few flights available. So how do you get a spot on that flight for your a million masks? Where for people like us, well, the places in the States, but we can just order a small box here, small box there, get 100 masks, couple hundred masks, whatever we want. We're not taking away from medical personnel. We don't know if they're true KN95 or N95 masks, but it's going to be better than a bandana. I would like to see someone order 500, keep 100, and then give 400 to the local hospital. There's a wonderful thing. But I don't think they can use anything other than qualified masks. You've got your China masks, and it says KN95 on that. I don't know if they're allowed to use it unless it's on a list of pre-approved masks. Uh, John Hosted, a UV light help to sterilize masks. Yeah, but I can just take 5 masks and just rotate through one each day, come back to the first one in 5 days, just hang them up in those little 3M command, sticky thing where you pull the tab out to stick them to the wall. I'm just going to hang those up, and all I need is 5 masks between now and autumn. Then I'll use 5 more. Dude, the masks don't stop you getting it. A mask is only good if you have it to stop spreading it to others. Well, then why would medical professionals wear an N95 mask when they're in the hospital? That's the way you stop from getting it. Now, that's why you stop from getting it, inhaling it. You still have to have all the protocols for your hands and anything you touch. That's 95% of it. But an N95 mask is very good at stopping you from inhaling the droplets. That's what they're designed for. At least the medical N95s. The regular N95s are just made for any particulate matter, down to like zero point 0.3 microns. Nick Anderson asked, could your fans ship you non-perishables? The non-perishables we're actually fairly good on. Fruit, veg, milk, and things like that. That's the stuff we gotta get in once a week, twice a week, something like that. I'm ordering tons of veggies, and I just chop them all up and throw them in the freezer. When my freezer's full, and other things, perishables, chicken, throw up in there. I portion it out and freeze it all and stuff. My dad's just not going to do that. It just can't do that. So it's just getting him some other things on there. But thank you. Okay, let's dive into today's topic. Enough of what's going on outside. Let's chat about something really interesting. Batteries. When that starts becoming interesting, then people are running out of things to watch. And actually, I want to, no, before we dive into battery thing, what are people watching on Netflix or something like that? Because things like, yeah, I've gone through the platform on Netflix, a good story, horror movie, interesting plot on that. Narcos Mexico, Witcher, I finished. Lock and Key, amazingly, I'm kind of enjoying. It took 3, 4 episodes to get going. Now I'm like, okay, because I think it was kind of made for teens and stuff like that. Plays like a music video sometime, but I've been pretty surprised at that. What else? I forgot the other series. A couple others that I was bouncing around and watching, and I've been enjoying a lot of them. I don't watch a ton per day, but for each meal, I'll watch an episode of something. What do people have been? Ozark. Tracy, thank you. I've been hearing good things about that. Tiger King. Boy, that doesn't interest me in the slightest, that reality kind of thing. But everyone's been talking about so much. Maybe I'll try one episode. Everything is just so messed up everywhere. I didn't want to see that kind of dysfunction mess up. I'm almost kind of looking for me personally, sci-fi escapism, um, stuff like that. Though Narcos Mexico is hardly sci-fi, but I enjoy the acting on that. They had some good casting for it. Um, Tiger Guy documentary, F is for family. The platform, Train to Busan. I've seen that. That's been on my recommended list since, I don't know, last summer or something. That's a pandemic kind of thing or a zombie kind of thing or something like that. And the father's saving the son or something. Law and Order SVU. I've seen like every single one twice on it, but thank you. Yeah. And then I started going into like Nova and Nature and This Old House, which I love. The first few episodes of each series, because I love framing and the foundations and the plumbing basics like that. The furniture shopping and the paint choices, no, I like, putting up the house and the demolition work and stuff like that. So This Old House has been fun too. Tim G. Star just jumped up to Samsung 30T batteries. Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, Zombies for Train to Busan. Narcos is good. Yeah, the original Narcos was terrific too. Uh, Scott Bogfoot is watching 13 poster poster unek a lot lately. I don't speak the language. The acting is good enough to get over that. As long as it has subtitles, I couldn't care less. I hate foreign shows, European show that is spoken in English. What? If it's a Czechoslovakian show, speak Czech. I'll read the subtitles. It's just so much more enjoyable for me that way. But I can be in the minority for that, perhaps. Let me write down. I haven't even heard this 13 poster neck thing. Unek. Okay. Bob Ross for relaxation. Absolutely. You can just totally drift off, and then you find your mind was wandering, and all of a sudden it's a complete painting in front of you. Oh, New Wave Dave 169 says on Netflix it's called Happy. Dark comedy, has drama, action. Oh, okay, that sounds interesting. That's the problem about Netflix. Sometimes they use like The Wall, very strange sci-fi movie. I liked the story a lot, but it was Das Wall. You couldn't look up The Wall. You wouldn't get hit. You had to look up Das Wall. And I was like, what? I don't think it was Netflix. I think that was somebody else, but that really pissed me off. Macunian Biker is watching every single documentary in ancient Egypt that isn't on YouTube. Haven't gotten bored of it yet. I watched a lot of those when they come up. I forgot who did all that. I'm trying to think of the group. It wasn't Nature. It wasn't well. Nova did some things. Nova had some episodes on ancient Egypt and stuff like that. Mooch is wrong-handed. There's only one-handedness left. Happy is great. Oh, there's some more Queen of the South. Huh. Okay. See what that one is. Oh, Altered Carbon, second season. Didn't enjoy it as much as the first season, but I still enjoyed it. And it took a while to get used to the fact that the star has to change every season. That's the way the was it a graphic novel went, and so that's the way it has to go. So that was used to it. I didn't like whoever the actor was nearly as much for the second season as I did for the first season. I forgot his name. He played the RoboCop remake on it. I liked him a lot. Poe, I love first and second season. Blue Bloods sounds interesting. Greasy. My mom was ambidextrous too. She had fun with that. All right. Well, let's maybe go into a little bit of battery stuff here. And today is tips for safer charging. We're, it's interesting, actually, almost by definition, I think everyone's doing a little safer charging because now, well, maybe they might still do it overnight because a lot more people are at home and maybe they got more time and they can let things charge up. But Anani, I'll answer your question. I'd say hold off the question for a second. What do you think of EFAS 21700s? Have no idea. Haven't tested them. I don't believe. Check the description section below. See if I go to my blog at ECF, see if I tested them. I don't remember testing that, but if I did, it was a while ago. And if it was a while ago, then I can't guarantee they're still wrapping the same battery. There's nothing wrong with it. Unless it's a 30T rewrap, it's not 35 amps. So, 3,700 milliampere hours, that sounds like a China cell, because if it was a 40T, they would call it 4,000. They wouldn't exaggerate a Samsung 30T to 3,700. So I think it's probably China cell, and that means it's not 35 amps, but it might be a 25 or 30 amp cell. Westworld, I gave up on it when things went whoosh in season 2. It was just like, wait, what? Um, okay. If you do have any questions when I dive back into chat, Battery Space Mooch. You don't need a hashtag, you don't need an @ sign. Battery Space Mooch. Nice bright red tag for me to see, and I'll be able to answer your question or be able to see it. But let's go to my cheat sheets here and for safer charging. And probably the best thing, or the way to start off is to say that there is no safe charging. There's no safe use of these batteries meant to only be used in battery packs. That doesn't mean it's dangerous. It just means we can't say it's 100% safe, so we can just ignore anything that we have to do to be careful. No, you still have to be a little careful. It's like driving. You can be in the highest crash rated car. You can be an incredibly careful driver, perfect maintenance of your vehicle. The vehicle's in perfect condition, but you can still get into an accident. That's because it's not safe. It's not dangerous, but you can't call it 100% safe and drop your guard. Just a little bit of background respect, a couple neurons dedicated to like, oh, hey, the wraps are getting damaged, or hey, well, this battery's really hot. Maybe I should let it cool off. That's all. So it's the same thing for charging. This is how to have safer charging, but doing even everything I tell you about, which would be a real pain in the ass. You just do the stuff that's convenient for you, can make it safer. And that's good, but we can never use that safe word. So the first tip, charging to 4.2 volts. And a lot of you might be going, "Oh, duh." But a lot of people don't realize that's the charge voltage because on so many batteries, the quote nominal voltage, 3.6, 3.7 volts, is on it. So they look for a charger with a 3.7 volt setting. They charge at 3.7 volts, which of course gives them what, half charge? And they're like, what the hell is going on? A standard lithium-ion battery with a 3.7 nominal voltage, that's the voltage it spends most of its time at. It identifies the chemistry essentially. It's what it spends most of its time at when discharged very slowly. That's the nominal voltage. So, and here comes the allergy runny nose. Um, so charging 4.2 is what you should be doing. 4.1 volts, if you have that available, is better. You lose a little bit of capacity, but your batteries can last much longer overall battery life. Remembering which way to do this. Don't use inexpensive no-name chargers. I don't care if you found a great $4 charger. It's not great. It's a piece of junk. If you're paying $4 for it, it costs 75 cents to make. What kind of quality are you getting for under a buck? You're not. Don't use that. Use the big name brands. Xstar has, I like their engineering. They're terrific stuff. The newer night cores, the USB powered night cores, the older ones with just a power cord and the no wall wart, they run way too hot. Stick to the newer ones. The EFS, yeah, been hit and miss lately, but just ask around and find some good ones. I've got links in the description section for HJKs. What is hundreds of charger test reports. I've got it for a bunch. Links are down in the description section. More water, please. And get one of those. There's still, 17, 20 bucks, 25 bucks. You're going to have it for a couple of years, if not longer. $25 charger, that's nothing over that time period. Um, Charge only on a non-flammable surface, a 12-inch kitchen tile that you can get in a home improvement store for cheap is nothing. A thick piece of cork or just, countertop, a non-flammable countertop or something like that. Only do it when you're around and awake, please. These are mass-produced electronics. They're not going to fail, but they make 100,000 of them. A couple of them are. And you don't want to be the one person who leaves a charger on their bed or something like that, or on a pillow or something, and you become the one in 100,000 where that charger decides to overheat and catch fire. Just when you're awake, it wouldn't be a problem. You can put it out. But on a non-flammable surface, when you're around and awake, whenever you can. If you say, no, screw that, well, that's okay. That's your choice. I don't want to be the one in 100,000. Never charge a very cold or any battery that's more than warm. Uh, I'm going to call it 45 degrees Celsius. That's about the point where you go, oh, yeah, it's a little warm. Just wait, let it cool off. Anything below 32 degrees, if you're charging it, can damage the battery. If you do it often enough, the battery can catch fire and explode later on as it charges up. Never charge a cold battery. If you're using um, a device where you can charge via USB or an external charger, I recommend an external charger for multiple reasons. Number one, USB connectors are really delicate. You want to save it from when you might really need it. You're traveling or rush or a quick recharge at work or something like that. Excuse me. So save the USB connector, but also by using an external charger, namely not through USB, but you're buying a separate charger, you can monitor the batteries. You can see often the milliampere hours going in. You can charge at a slower rate, maybe, making the batteries last longer. You can feel the temperature on them, maybe when a battery's starting to fail, getting old. It'll run at a hotter temperature during charging. So a lot of benefits to using an external charger. For an internal battery mod, where you can't switch over to an external one, at least use a USB charging adapter they recommend. Now, a lot of them don't recommend anything. They just say use a 2 amp adapter. Well, then use a good one. Samsung or Apple or Anker or I forgot the name brands, but you'll be able to check around, best USB charging adapters or something like that. Now, you can charge a lot of them at 2 amps, but here's something you can do. If you get like for me, you get a 1 amp, I've got an iPhone, so I've got a 1 amp iPhone charger. I can use that. Yeah, it's running at 1 amp, but I know it's a good charger, so I can run it full bore and it'll just charge my batteries inside the mod at half speed now. Especially if you've got a mod that says, oh, you can charge at 2 amps, but it ends up getting hot as hell. That's something I'd recommend switching to a good quality 1 amp charger, at least Anker and or better, one of the big, like Apple or something like that, and use a 1 amp one. Now you're charging the batteries at half the speed, they'll stay cooler, and your internal battery mod will last longer overall. Wraps. One of the things we can do for safer charging or safer use of our batteries is keep the wraps and the top ring insulator underneath the wrap at the top of the battery in perfect condition all times. Every time it goes in or out of the charger, check the wrap. Some chargers are pretty abusive. They've got very surprisingly sharp points at the contacts, at the two contacts, the sliding one and the fixed one, and so that can catch over time on the wraps. If the wrap gets damaged up on top, every time you slide it in and out of the charger, you can short circuit the battery. And eventually that can stick because it kind of welds itself there, or you don't notice it's not in all the way because it's stuck halfway in. Short circuit, battery catches fire and or explodes. Just keep the wraps in perfect condition. When charging, don't let the batteries get more than a little bit warm. Some chargers, charging the battery itself can create heat, but some chargers, the heat rises up from the charger and actually heats up your batteries also, like the older night cores I was talking about, or a lot of 6 or 8 cell chargers running at like typically 1 amp maximum with all the bays. They get pretty toasty. Go down to lower charge rate, do every other slot or something like that. It just speeds up the aging of the battery so they don't last as long if they get more just a little bit warm. Never leave your batteries in the charger, uh, especially if the charger is unplugged, because a badly designed charger, you may be powering up some circuitry and not powering other circuitry. Also, if the battery charger is unplugged, you may be slowly discharging the battery without even knowing it and trashing your batteries. And also, leaving your batteries in the charger means they're being left out someplace. That's for pets to mess with, for your kids to mess with, or anything like that. Just put them in insulated plastic boxes. Well, all plastic boxes are insulated, but put them in an insulated box and put the batteries somewhere else rather than leaving them in the charger. Now, you may go, look, Mooch, I'm taking them in and out all the time. That's fine. But I'm saying, off to the side, you're leaving something in there for a week. No, just take it out and put it into a box. And water break. Or maybe take a peek at that chat here. For anyone asking questions, battery space Mooch at the beginning. No hashtags, no ad symbols, you don't need them. Nuno Miguel, can I use 30T in a mech with a build like 1 ohm? You can always use higher resistance with any battery. Now, if you have 30Ts, okay, but with a 1 ohm, you might want the 5,000 milliamp per hour VapCell Blue, 12 amp, 5,000 milliamp per hour, decent performer. As long as you're, 10, 12 amps maximum, which you will be with a 1 ohm build, you can get an extra, you know, 60% longer runtime, 50% longer runtime. But if all you have are 30Ts, you can use a 1 ohm, 10 ohm, 1,000 ohm, million ohm coil. Lower current is never a problem for a battery. Bill Clinton reviews vape gear. Well, that's awesome. I missed something somewhere. Greasy is thinking of buying the Keen mech or the grip. Which do you recommend? That's a personal preference. The grip is fundamentally different from how you're going to be using the Keen. I like the Keen. It's got that. That's one I think with the ball and socket. I think it got decent performance results. The grip didn't perform quite as well, but it's not a big enough difference between them for you to notice. But the grip is fundamentally different in how you're going to be operating the two mechs. So that's personal preference. Performance-wise, you're not going to see a difference between them. Maintenance on them, Keen wasn't bad, and the grip wasn't bad either. Now, locking, I think I had some Problems in the grip, maybe getting things in and out after maintenance, but nothing where I would warn you off of it. But you can, at least for the grip, you can check, on my Battery Mooch YouTube channel. You can check my test on the grip and see what I said about that. And the keen also. I tested both. Check the videos for those. See if there's anything where you go, oh, whoa, wait, you just pointed out something I hate. And that might influence on it. Spectre says, hey, Rojas safe, friend. Yes, definitely. No cadmium or mercury in my life. Chucky, first, what do you think of Ohm Tech charges? I've got them in the queue months now, trying to get through that charger queue. Don't know a thing about them. I'm sorry, I can't say one way or another. Greasy is $25 less expensive. I guess the Keen, the switch. I don't remember the Keen. Check my video. I don't remember the Keen switch being a problem to maintain, but I don't because it had the ball and socket. I don't remember. Sorry. John Whistler, are the MollyCell 21700s bigger than the 30T? Yeah, fraction of a millimeter. So if you're already tight with a 30T or 40T, don't get the MollyCells. Chucky asked again about home tech chargers. You really want to know the answer to that one, didn't you? Slow ramp up on the million ohm coils, they say. Could be. But if you start pressing the button the day before, maybe when you go to sleep, by the time you wake up, it will be up to temperature. So, VMG testing. Holy crap. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's amazing. At work, so can't chat, but just wanted to say thanks, Mooch, and be safe. Thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you for your support for my testing. That was really awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. Lead Pipe 58. Battery Mooch is a fast charging battery faster than others, a worn battery. New battery charge seems slower, thanks. Is a fast charging battery faster than others? A worn battery. New battery charge seems slower. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Sorry, I take a bunch of guesses. I might not get it. Sorry, Lead Pipe. I don't understand the question. Alex asked if I ever heard about anything about Fullermo chargers. No, I heard some people praising them, but I hear people praising chargers that I thought were junk, like the Lido Kalas, that the Engineer 500 or something, which is really inaccurate for counting milliampere hours and stuff like that. Way off. But I haven't heard anything about or know anything definitive about the Fullemos. Scott Bachfoot, why don't most chargers have the batteries covered? In terms of like a door or something over that? Well, the new X-Stars do. The small ones have a magnetic door, something like that, probably to let the heat out from charging itself. And a lot of chargers add heat also on there, so they just keep them open. And last question from Joshua Builds, then we'll dive back into this. If a battery charges quickly, could that be a sign of aging? Charging quickly isn't a sign of aging. Charging quickly is a sign of a healthy battery, or charging at what you would expect them to do. If they're charging a lot faster, if you've got a 3,000 milliampere hour battery charging in 1 hour at 1 amp, something's wrong. Either it wasn't empty, or there's something really wrong with the charger, or something wrong with the battery. There's only a tiny bit of capacity left in the battery, or something like that. But as batteries age, the last part of the charge can take longer and longer and longer as the internal resistance of the battery goes up. It becomes harder. Actually, what happens is the internal resistance of the battery goes up, which makes the battery voltage rise higher. Instead of a voltage sag, there's a voltage spike or voltage jump up. So the charger thinks, oh, you're at 4.2, I'm going to start slowing down. Well, really, inside the battery, when you get away from the internal resistance, it's only a 4.15. So the charger starts slowing down too early when there's a lot of internal resistance buildup, because it creates the opposite of a sag. It creates a voltage rise, and that tricks the charger into thinking time to slow down. So yes, aging batteries can take longer to finish the last part of the charge. Okay. Steven Sora, would Mooch be interested in 28 millimeter copper black Vindicator? That thing, I would have sex with that thing. That's like my dream Vindicator version on that. Joshua builds. Oh, I got that. Okay. Let's go back and finish off this, and we'll go back to chat. Excuse me. For lipo packs, for those of you who have box mods or lipo packs, or maybe just lipo packs because you have a drone or something else that uses them, never get them even warm on the outside. They're typically rated for about 60 degrees Celsius, which means barely warm on the outside. Once you're getting through the layers of, usually a layer of plastic around it, then shrink wrap, maybe a label. So it could be 45 degrees Celsius on the outside and 60 on the inside between the two innermost cells if you have a pack, or in the innermost cell if you have just the 3S pack. So keep them cool. Don't go crazy on them. Always balance charge a LiPo pack. If you can't balance charge it, just charge it. Just keep it at a nominal voltage or something so you can get a balanced charge. Don't take a chance with that. Um, you can put a LiPo pack in a LiPo bag. That's okay. But remember, that's going to let the pack heat up. So if it's already getting a little bit toasty, you want to think twice about putting it in a LiPo bag. But if it's safety versus battery life, put it in the LiPo bag. Do not put a round cell charger in a LiPo bag thinking, hey, this is safe. You're just trapping all the heat from the charger in there. It's better to put the charger outside or something like that in a safe place. Don't let kids get access to it or something like that. Please use your best judgment here. But it's better to put it outside if you're worried about the batteries igniting or something during charge, rather than putting it inside a LiPo bag and making it more likely the batteries will ignite because they're letting everything overheat. Charge rates. I have a table of charge rates from the manufacturer's data sheets for a lot of batteries. The link is in the description section. But overall, typically a 15 amp or higher rated cell, 15 up to 35 amps, that's the maximum we can get for any round battery. You can charge at 1 amp, that's okay. If you've got a 12 amp, 10 amp, 8, 5 amp battery or something, half amp, that's as high as you want to go for now, unless you know otherwise and see the rating. But if you don't have the ratings, try 1 amp for 15 amp higher, half an amp for under 15 amp rated battery. Now, if you go over that, battery, depending on the battery, it could age faster. If you've got an 18350 and you're always charging at 1 amp, that cell may be aging a lot faster, or 14500 or an 18500 or something like that. But there are batteries out there that you can charge at 4, 6, even 8 amps. And that is going to be absolutely nothing. A 1 amp charge is going to be nothing. The Molicel P26A, 6 amp rated. Charge that at 2 amps if you want. The Molicel P42A, 8 or 8.4 amps rated. Charge that sucker at 4 amps. You might get slightly longer life at 1 amp or 2 amp, but you can charge at much higher levels. A lot of the higher performance batteries are used, the VTCs, Samsung 25Rs, even 30Q, I think, has a 4 amp maximum or something, but that ages the battery. Let temperature be your guide. Stay just kind of, no more, just a little bit warm. Anything higher than that, you're aging the battery a little bit faster. And Spectre is being thoroughly awesome. $15 super chat. Thank you, sir, very much. Appreciate that. I admire you, Mooch. I wish I could meet you someday. I think that would be very cool. You've got some great technical hellos that I like. You're so much more educated than I. I don't know, just based on some of the hellos that you give with the tech stuff wrapped in. P.S. Don't tell anyone, but I solder wires directly on the cylindrical lithium-ion cells. I did not just read that, but I know a lot of people do it. I just ask you to be really careful and use the right soldering iron, particularly the right flux. But you're probably already doing that, but that's a standard warning I just want to give out to everybody else. Thank you again for the super chat. Um, Everybody, never charge a battery. Standard lithium-ion round battery that has gone below 2.5 volts. It's gone. Just leave it. Unless it just happened. You vaped it down too far in a mech or something like that, and you didn't realize you were at 2 volts. Put in a charger, it says 2.1 volts. Okay, charge it slowly. Set it to the lowest setting till it gets up to like 3, and then go. But if you pull a battery out of a closet that's been in there for a year, and it's sitting at 1.8 volts, it's gone. Don't charge it. Don't use it. Don't do anything with it. Replace it, wrap it up, recycle it, replace the battery. Now, for charging in general, I get a lot of questions about, is it safe to pull a battery out from charging halfway, put it back in? Maybe you just want to charge it for 10 minutes, vape for 10 minutes, charge for 10 minutes, vape for 10 minutes, because you just don't want to wait 3 hours for a full charge. That's okay. The battery couldn't care less. Now, you may be damaging the wraps more, pulling them out in and out, but let's assume the wraps are always in perfect condition. Battery couldn't care less when you charge it, when you discharge it, what voltage is at. You don't have to complete the charge. Um, in fact, pulling it early could increase battery life. If let's say, because you got that slow finish, when it hits 4.1, 4.2 volts, take it out, you're actually helping to increase the battery life because the aging occurs more at the top of the charge. There's more energy in the battery that accelerates the internal reactions that are causing the aging of the battery, which is why we store batteries at like 3.4 to 3.7 volts. It's a lower down voltage, It's a lower voltage. And that means the internal degradation happens at a slower rate. Now, a slight drop voltage. A lot of people are concerned. Comes off the charge at 4.0, 4.20, 4.22 volts, even 4.25 maybe. And then an hour later, it's sitting at 4.18. And everyone's like, yeah, that's okay. Because of the internal resistance of the battery, the voltage going into the battery or what you read will always be a little higher than what's actually inside the battery. Once you take it out of the charger, the ions kind of redistribute themselves, get perfectly evenly distributed. The voltage settles back down a little bit. Dropping down to 4.18, 4.19 is nothing. 4.15 the next day, that's still okay. If it's dropping much below that, your battery may be aging. Internal leakage of the battery from one side to the other may be happening more. That can lead to, it's just an indication. A faster self-discharge can be an indication that the battery is starting to age. Mike Berg, thank you, sir, very much for the super chat. You're awesome. $5. Thank you so much for that. All of you are awesome tonight. This is wonderful. Have to do some battery shopping later, or maybe charge. Well, I got some chargers. Yeah, I need to get some more batteries in too. 3 shipments from China. 3 shipments from China. 18650s. I was looking forward to testing. Actually, a couple of smaller cells too. All are just who knows where. I can't get any responses from anybody, and who knows where. I think they're just being held up for priority shipments because there's so few flights. Um, that was most of it. In fact, that was everything. Now, there's a lot of stuff on the list there, things you can do. Are they all easy and convenient? Absolutely not. Will they help make charging a little bit safer? Each one will have a little bit to help. So pick the ones that you're willing to do and do them. I mean, that's all we can ask of anybody. Just have an awareness that these things exist and they can be done, and pick and choose the ones that work for you, the way you vape and your lifestyle like that. And always use your best judgment. Something acting weird, something hot, something doing something unexpected. Stop. Don't charge it anymore. Replace the battery, do something else. Try it in a different charger if you think the charger is acting weird. In the end, each of us is responsible for our own safety, and we've got to make the best decisions we can. So use your best judgment and charge safe. And that is tonight's topic. And we have got about 20 minutes left to chill and hang before none other vape show. So let's see what we got here. Battery Space Mooch for any questions. John Whistler, should we allow batteries to sit for? Oh, that's a good one. Thank you. I should have had that on my list. Should we allow batteries to sit for a couple of minutes after charging when we're using them in a Mac? It'd be for any device you're using them in. I, just because I can't know how hot everyone's getting the batteries, I always say let a battery cool down to room temperature before you use it in anything. Now, electrochemically, I don't think it makes any difference. But if you're already starting with a warm battery, and if you got an aggressive build in there and you're running them hard, you're just aging the battery faster by using it. But for any imminent danger, no. But I'd say just let it come down to room temperature, half hour, maybe an hour for a 21700 or something at the most. Don't put them in the fridge. Someone would ask me that. Just you can put them in front of a fan, or you can have the fan on the charger, and they'll come off the charger at room temperature, and then bam, you can just use them. Let's see, who do we got here? Scott Bogfoot, do you think batteries could be made landfill friendly in the future? Well, lithium ions are fairly friendly is the wrong word. I guess it depends what you call friendly. I think there's always going to be something recyclable in the battery, which means, for one definition of friendly, it's not landfill friendly because there's something you can recycle out of that battery, even if it's a steel case. But in terms of the chemistry and stuff like that, I'd say there'll never be a point where it's It's totally okay to throw them in a landfill. There's always going to be something we can recycle out of there. It's just when will the economics make just recycling the steel can? Is that in 100 years when the steel can is actually worth it, even if nothing else is recyclable? Mr. Bridger asked, Mr. Bridger asks, what's the best way to properly determine capacity? I have older VTC6s that my charger still reports are taking 2900 to 3000, but run down noticeably quicker than newer VTCs. Interesting. So a lot of chargers are at least 10, 15% over. So they would measure your 3000 at 3400 or something like that. So, if they're telling you 2900 to 3000, you've got, 2600 milliampere hour cells. Any of the charges are pretty bad. Oh, I'm gonna have to send you to my charger link in the description section to see which one it was. Was it the Opus? Trouble is you have to discharge them down to 2.5. You have to discharge them at 2.5 volts, charge them back up, or charge them all the way up and discharge them down to 2.5 volts. Otherwise, you're not measuring capacity. If you're measuring capacity on the recharge, that's just what it's putting back into the battery. If you're getting 3000 just by what you put back in the battery after using them, then your charger is way off, maybe 2 times off, a factor of 2 off. You can get an electronic load, they're called, off of AliExpress that will display the milliampere hours. You charge the battery fully, you put it in this electronic load, you discharge it at half an amp or something like that, and it'll count the milliampere hours all the way down. Look for battery discharging tester, battery tester, or electronic load. But it may not be worth it for you because if you're already noticing it, then it's time to recycle the batteries and you don't even need to measure the capacity. Just your own personal experience makes you realize, no, these are on the way out. No, Mr. Richard, don't worry. Hopefully it made sense. Hopefully my answer made sense. Chris, Madi, or Mady, should we discharge and tape the positive and bag batteries before recycling? If you have a convenient way to discharge, like an analyzing charger, yeah, it's always good to bring it down to 2.5, 3 volts or something like that. Get most of the energy out of the cell, tape the positive half, and then bring it to the recycler. But otherwise, don't use salt water, don't use resistors, don't do anything complicated because that can add its own safety issues. Just tape the positive half, even if it's fully charged. I actually bought a small USB fan specifically for my charging station today. Nobody vapes. Yeah, it works great. A I duct taped a 5-volt fan on a Opus that I can flip on and off because the fan was 90 millimeter. I think it's 90 millimeter fan. It's the exact width of the Opus. So I just flip it up and down over the 4 slots. Something that works really well is you get a charger with a 5-volt USB port on the back for an output port. Then you buy a 12-volt fan and you bodge up a USB cord to that 12-volt fan to run it at 5 volts. It'll turn very slowly, completely quietly, and now you can have that blow on it and powered from the charger itself, as opposed to running off to a separate line, which is what I do. Okay, John Hostad, I have rotated my batteries through my DNA75 and charged with a VCC4. DNA75 set to 3 volts. All are 30 Qs. Most charged for more than 2000 milliamp hour. Are they best to be retired? I don't know from 3 volts what it should be. It sounds like it should be more though, like 2500 or something. I'd say retire them when you're pissed off at their performance, or if they run hot, or they're acting weird, or something like that. I don't know if 2000 sounds a little bit low, but that doesn't mean they have to be retired. It's really when you're getting tired of those batteries, or they start running hot, or something like that. Scott Bogfoot, is there a limitation of usable wire gauges when drawing power from lithium-ion batteries? No, no, the gauge means nothing. You can use, triple aught. You can use 5,000 feet of triple aught, cable, 2 inches thick. That's okay. If that's zero point 0.1 ohms, that's the same thing as using 5 wraps of whatever, that comes out to, 5 wraps of 28 gauge that comes out to 0.1 ohms or whatever it might be. I don't know. It's just the resistance. That's it. If we're talking a mech, if you're talking regulated, then it's just the power setting. Even the resistance of the coil or the wire gauge or the metal doesn't matter. It's only your power setting because in a regulated mod, batteries aren't connected to the coil. They're connected to the regulator circuit board that's set to a fixed wattage. So the battery's always see the same request for power. Anybody with a question? Battery space, Mooch. Leonardo, Araujo, Araujo, or some other brands do the same. Ooh, don't know. Sorry. Pat Valvey, Mooch, how you doing? I'm good. Long time since I caught a live show. I'm glad you did. Thank you for joining us. We've got about 10 minutes left. FSJ, FSJ Poncho, MX $200. MX. Do I want to say Mexico or is that somewhere else completely? Thank you very much for your super chat. That's awesome. New sub here. And thank you for subscribing too. I really appreciate that. And thank you for joining us tonight too. That's always cool to have people here. And I really appreciate the super chat. And I'm going to have to look up MX. I've never seen that prefix before. USD for dollars, etc. Nobody vapes. Mr. Bridger, yes, that was in a test cycle. So that's on a 2000 milliamp hours on the discharge, because that should be the test discharge. The charge capacity is different than the discharge capacity, and you want to do it about half an amp. I don't know, but 2000 sounds a little bit low. But if you're not pissed off at your batteries yet, maybe use them. Maybe try again. Think about it again during summer. Leonardo Araujo, 1 amp charger for each battery only. Strange, isn't it? Don't understand that one. It's where it's strange, but 1 amp is just that convenient for a lot of batteries. But it's really anywhere from half an amp to 8 amps, depending on the battery. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, go find out what the charge rate is. No, they just want the number. And so 1 amp is a convenient number. And it also matches up with what a lot of chargers can do with all the bays filled. John Beninati, $2. Thank you very much, sir. Our industry and community would be lost without you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words. I don't believe that for a second. There's some terrific testers and other people out there, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Scott Botfoot, do New York City still have stray voltage problem on the streets? I heard it was an issue a few years back. Thanks, Mooch. We did have problems. For what he's talking about is the manhole covers on the streets cover often high voltage electrical cables, and the salt that's spread on the streets in winter gets down in there, eats away the insulation, and the manhole covers go live. And people who are walking their dogs have had their dogs literally killed, electrocuted because they walked on the manhole cover that was live. I haven't heard about that in a few years. I think they're getting a lot more proactive with the repairs, or maybe they're doing something different in how they're wrapping the cables, or they're putting rain guards or something over the cable so the insulation doesn't get messed up. But those are typically the 13,000 volt cables that are under there, and that can create a lot of leakage voltage up to the manhole covers. That was terrifying because you get kids, could run around with bare feet on a sidewalk, local sidewalk. They shouldn't on city streets. Is stuff that stick to their feet that I wouldn't want in the house. But yeah, that was nasty stuff. Leonardo, battery space Mooch in the front. Why some batteries after fully charged a 1 amp charger died? Did not turn on the equipment. I don't know. There are a lot of different ways that a battery can die. I don't think you kill the battery with 1 amp unless your charger went up to much too high a voltage. But I think they died some other way, not from the charging. R. Doyle says that is Mexican. Well, that $200. I don't care where it comes from. That's fracking awesome. FSJ Poncho, thoughts on smart chargers that claim to turn off when battery is full? $200 pesos is only $10 US dollars. Well, that's $10 more than I have ever had today. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's an amazing donation. I would say I would demand that from any charger. Any charger that doesn't say it turns off, don't buy, because that's a useless charger. Lithium-ion requires it to turn off. You can really damage a battery by having continuous charge, which is why you never use a lead acid float charger, even if it has the correct voltage for charging lithium-ion. For me, it's mandatory. It has to happen and should happen, and I'm glad it does happen on almost all the chargers. I haven't seen, even in cheap chargers, like Trustfires or something, even they turn off. I wouldn't necessarily trust when they turn off in terms of voltages and stuff like that. But for me, it's absolutely mandatory because that's the way you have to charge a lithium-ion battery. Alicote Frump asks, what is the maximum wattage of 10 amps? It, a rough um, a rough guide to wattage versus current. A 10 amp rated battery, 3 times that, 30 watts. A 20 amp battery, 3 times that, 60 watts. 30 amp battery, 90 watts. If you have multiple batteries, add up the wattages. If you have two 10 amp batteries, 30 watts each, in a 2 battery device, that would be 60 watts. And that's one of the few things that we have to deal with that's just really simple. Mr. Bridger, 10 quid. Thank you. That's quid? Yeah. Thanks for all the time you spent helping us. Stay safe. Thank you, sir. The same to you, and thank you very much for your super chat. Pat, no battery mooch? I don't even want to answer your question now. Okay. Does a battery been charged at 2 amps last as long as half amp? Does the charging deplete your batteries any faster depending how you charge them? Faster charging does age. I thought I mentioned this at the beginning, but faster charging can age your batteries faster. You know, the difference between quarter amp and half amp. You got a 20 amp battery rated. Difference between quarter amp charging and half amp charging, you're not going to notice. Maybe not even between half amp and 1 amp, but the difference between half amp and 2 amp, if you're not otherwise abusing the battery, that charging at half an amp could potentially give your batteries a longer overall life. But if at 2 amps, they're barely getting warm, and at half an amp, they're not getting warm, then it might not make too much of a difference. It does depend on the battery. Okay, we got about 5 minutes or so. Yes, Spectre, you're the only one. Well, no, you and I are the only ones. Pat, oh, okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Yes, slower charging can be better. It never hurts to slow charge, ever, because the charger runs cooler, so it's happier. The battery's cooler, so it's happier. It can just be less inconvenient, or it may make someone go, oh, well, I'll just set it to quarter amp and charge overnight. Well, now you have the safety issue of leaving your charger unattended overnight. So there's a lot of balancing, and it's just up to each individual person, risk versus convenience. Mr. Richard, 10 quid. Cheers, governor. Thank you, sir. My pathetic North London accent. Governor. That's not northern. I can't do southern. Um, and a good day I can do the north. The north, dude, the north. Chris Robertson, battery life in life cycles is from full charge to what voltage? Uh, one cycle is fully charged at 4.2 volts, down to 2.5 volts, and back up again, equal to the capacity of the battery. So if you've got a 3,000 milliamp hour battery and you charge it, remove 3,000 milliamps and charge it back up, that's one cycle. If you charge it, discharge a 15, take 1,500 milliamps out of it, whatever voltage it is for a battery, every battery is different. If you have a 3,000 mAh battery, take out 1,500 mAh, back up, that's half a cycle. If you do it twice, that counts as one cycle. And if you only discharge the battery to half, oh, should you get twice the cycles? Yes. But it's actually more. 2 half cycles may actually end up overall being 0.95 cycle equivalent total, because odds are 2 half cycles are low, the temperatures aren't going as high, the usage isn't as hard, something like that. Chucky first, positive pin in his battery got pushed in. Can I pry it back out? Absolutely not. No fracking way. No. No. Don't even try it. That's a great way to short circuit a battery and have it explode in your face. No. If it's got dented, it's gone. You just got to use a different mod or not tighten it or change mods or something. But tape up the battery, recycle it, replace the battery. Sorry. Greasy's vape 10 mils in an hour. Wow, 10 mils in an hour. Actually, I've done that with a couple of really, really good juices. But yeah, you can't keep. I would advise doing that 10 hours a day. Yes, switch to Nick free, which is what I do. If I have a new juice, I always try it without Nick because I just don't, I get Nick sick otherwise. Spectre, your door is open. Hurry, close it. Robber and the like. Ooh. This is the problem with a pre-war apartment. None of the door latches reach the door jamb anymore, and they don't click. And that's after adjustment a couple of times. Pat Valve, you don't need the @ sign, just battery mooch. Would you trust the XR Dragon to leave your batteries overnight? No, because I can't. No, I don't trust any charge to leave my batteries in overnight. If you're running it to test it, okay, but just please I don't have any reason to mistrust it. None. Zero. I don't have any reason to mistrust any charger. It's just out of the millions of chargers out there, something is going to fail on somebody. And because any charger could potentially fail, I have to tell everybody that every charger has to be considered to be that one charger and to charge on a non-flammable surface. Just please, some people even put it down in the kitchen sink because they just don't have something non-flammable to try it on. But I've done that. I have big kitchen tiles, and I just plop it on that, on the kitchen counter, and hope nothing happens. Please don't let my being careful in terms of generic advice to a worldwide community make you think that your device could be dangerous. There are 5 million charges out there. 50 of them are going to catch fire. Because I don't know which person has that, I've got to tell every single vapor to be careful and to do this or do that. And it is time to go. They just started. I'm sorry. Chucky first, $4.99. Thank you very much for super chat. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I talked too long. It's 7:59. They started early tonight. But I just got the alert. Now that the Vape Show started, I don't want to step on them. Everyone, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the awesome super chats. And I hope to see everybody next week. I'll see you guys in another Vape Show chat. If I can hit this button.